Hello, everybody. Brandon here. So we're going to be talking about the 2000 Marilyn Manson album Hollywood. Now, this one is going to break our perfect streak, unfortunately, because I don't love every single song on this album. But I don't hate any of the songs, and I don't even necessarily dislike any of the songs. But this isn't going to be quite as aggressively like something I'm going crazy over saying how much I love it as much. But there is good shit on this album, and I do really like it pretty much overall. But before I talk about that, I want to do a quick mention of a song that's not part of any of these albums. It's on a live album. And I didn't know about it for a long time because I don't usually listen to live albums, but it is just an album. It's like a studio recorded song that's on this live album. It's from the last tour on Earth, and it is called "Astonishing Panorama of the End Times." I fucking love this song, and I'm mad that I didn't realize that there was a studio song on here because I just I was like, oh, it's a live album. I'm not really interested in that. And then I found out that yeah, this fucking awesome song is just hidden on there. Um, so I was a little upset when I found out about it, but I was like, you know what? Glad I found out about it at some point because it is a really awesome song. And also, it fits the feel of Hollywood, which is why I'm mentioning it now. I feel like I was really fucking that up. But anyway, on to Hollywood itself. Okay, so Hollywood is, in my opinion, pretty damn good. It's leaning more towards Antichrist than Mechanical Animals in its kind of tone, I suppose. It's a lot more like aggressive, and it's got more of that kind of blacker sound as opposed to the whiter sound of Mechanical Animals. If you remember my incoherent nonsense about that shit, but I do think this is an album that is filled with really good songs. It's interesting though because this one is similar in length. They've all been hovering around an hour, give or take like 10 minutes or so. Um, but this one feels longer to me. Like I notice its length more because of the songs that I'm not quite as interested in. Also, it's 19 tracks, which there are some shorter songs on here, but it's interesting that it seems longer, like a lot longer somehow, despite being not that much longer. Anyway, so I do like the majority of this album. I only have what, one, two, three, four. Only four tracks didn't make it onto my Spotify liked, for example. And again, it's not like I don't like those songs. It's just like they don't. I don't know. It's like if I want to listen to them, I'll listen to them when I listen to the whole album, and not necessarily like I want them to come on in a random shuffle or anything. It's they're not songs that I'm like totally hot on. Um, I'll say that, but like I know the words to them and shit. So it's not like I dislike them like terribly, but we do have some pretty fucking rad songs here. Picking top three was still challenging, even though I'm like not quite so positive on this one. Again, I don't want it to sound like I'm negative on this, but like compared to how uh, like perhaps over the top I was about talking about Mechanical Animals and how much I like it, this is noticeably less enjoyable for me, but still really fucking good. So still, in this case, picking a top three was difficult. I don't even know if I'm happy with the top three I picked. I sort of want to try again, but the thing is I feel like it's going to be the kind of thing where it's like if I keep trying to rearrange my top three, I'm never going to be fully happy with it. But we'll just read what I have, and I'll make a special note that again, lots of honorable mentions are definitely present here. So my number three pick is going to be Born Again, which occasionally could be the number one pick. I really like this song. I'm not going to say it's like the best Marilyn Manson song, and maybe not even the best on this album, but it's one of my favorites. There's something about Well, I mean, I guess, you know, just like the song itself, like the composition of it, the way that he sings, you know, the kind of energy that he has and stuff. I really like it a lot for a lot of reasons. It's just an awesome song. My number 2 pick is going to be Disposable Teens, which this is another song where I actually heard this a really long time ago before I really got into Marilyn Manson. And I remember specifically thinking of this song because at one point when I was in elementary school, the Papa Roach song Last Resort came out, and all these little kids were walking around. I mean, I was a little kid too, but like all these little kids were walking around thinking they were so badass because they were listening to Last Resort, and he said the fuck word. And the funny part is that none of them would say it. Probably because they didn't say it on the radio, but like they knew, like, oh, that's what he says. He's saying the fuck word. But like, you know, when they would sing that part, like while they were hanging out in their little groups, they would censor themselves. So they'd be like, "Don't give a if I cut my arm bleeding," and that shit was so funny to me at the time. Right? There were cases, a little side rant, I suppose. There were cases when I was growing up and I was like quite young where I felt like other people around me were like childish. And another example of that would be when I heard a little girl. She was my age at the time, or I guess she would still be my age. But you know what I mean. Like, we were both the same age, like small children. But she was crying to like one of the like, I don't know what you call those. It's like teachers. They're not teachers, but they like playground monitors, I guess. But she was crying to one of them because somebody called her a butt face, and the teacher or the playground monitor was like, "What is a butt face? What is that?" And then she was like, "It means that my face is like a butt." And she was crying, and I was trying so hard not to laugh because it just seemed so stupid to me. Even at that age, I was like, what are you crying for? Like, that is the dumbest, like, little kid shit. I realized that saying that I felt like smarter or more mature than other people my age when I was little might sound pretty douchey or whatever, but that's just genuinely the way I felt a lot of the time. I felt like a lot of kids were just like, you know, like, I know we're young, but you don't have to be stupid like this. But anyway, sorry, side rant over. But yeah, Disposable Teens is my number 2 pick. I'm surprised I even remembered what I was talking about before I started ranting. My number 1 pick is going to go to President Dead because it's such a fun song to me. Again, though, it's one of those things where it's like, I don't necessarily know that I'm going to say it's the best song on the album, but it is my favorite. Usually. Like I said, sometimes that can kind of fluctuate a little bit, especially depending on what mood I'm in. But I want to give honorable mentions to like In the Shadow of the Valley of Death, Target Audience, the fight song, of course. The fight song is really great. Burning Flag is pretty fucking awesome. Valentine's Day is a song that I really like. I don't think it's necessarily, you know, like, it's probably considered like a deep cut by comparison to a lot of songs, but I think it's fucking great. Coma Black is so depressing, but it is a really good song. So yeah, there's tons of good stuff on here. Again, picking top 3 is kind of tough, but I feel like if I had set myself from the start of this project to have to pick a top 5 or more, that might have been really bad on a couple of albums. Definitely on albums we've already talked about, and perhaps albums we'll talk about in the future, where I just don't like that many songs off of an album. So, you know, I picked top 3 to be a little bit more realistic, because I knew that like some things maybe wouldn't I wouldn't have been fond of them, you know, when covering them. But anyway, especially those fucking 80s Kiss albums. I'll bring that up again. I did not have a good time listening to those. But anyway, yeah, so that's Hollywood. In my opinion, pretty solid. But it did break our perfect streak. So the next one that we're going to talk about is Golden Age of Grotesque, and we'll talk about that next time. So I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you for watching.